welcome or welcome back to Hand Building at Home with Mudflat. My name is Kate. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make windowsill seed starters. So this is going to be perfect for our springtime projects and gardens. And we're going to use a slab, and we're actually going to use a fold-up template, which I will provide for you. If you don't know how to make the slab or you want to see the way that I did it, you should refer back to the previous video where we go over slab making and slab rolling. Since we have ours all ready to go, we're just going to get started. So I have this template that is actually really simple. So it's going to be a long, skinny vessel, which will be perfect for starting seeds, or if you want to have a little, I don't know, herb garden or something. I'm super into plants, so this project is really exciting to me, but it can be used for a lot of different things, not just for plants. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by putting my template onto my slab, and I'm going to trace it. If you wanted to add texture to this, you can do so. We'll just need to keep track of what side is the front and what side is the back. So I'm just going through and tracing each side here. And I'm using my pin tool, but you can use anything from a sharp pencil to a wooden skewer, anything that you have at home. I messed up over here, doesn't matter, totally fine. Okay, so if I wanted to go ahead and add texture, I have these sweet little hearts that maybe I'll add here. I'm going to do so now before I cut this out, which is really important because especially if I'm using a stamp, what's going to happen is as I'm pressing down, it's going to distort the clay, the tracing that I just did, but it's important to trace so I know where I'm putting my texture. If you're doing an all over texture, let's say you have a roller or something, it's not as important. Okay, sweet. And I'm also going to add some lines to this, and I'm going to do so, I'm actually going to get rid of this heart that I went over here. I'm going to do so by using this wooden skewer and pressing down and dragging this like so. If you hold this perpendicular to your clay body, it's not going to make as nice of a line as something else would. Or sorry, I didn't mean to say that, as holding it horizontally would. Okay, sweet. So now that I have some texture in there, texture again, totally optional. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I'm going to put this back on here. You can see that it stretched out a little bit, so that's not a problem. And now I'm going to cut this out using my X-Acto knife, but if you have a wooden knife, a plastic knife, anything sharp enough to cut through the clay will do. Of course, the sharper the knife, the more precise the cut. So if you even have an old paring knife, that is going to work really well. The other thing as I'm cutting that I want to mention is I'm going for about 1/4 inch for my slab thickness. And notice how I put my template not in the middle of my slab, but rather to the side, because now I have this huge, beautiful piece of clay that can be used for something else. So I'm actually going to cut off this good piece, put it over here to the side, and now we'll pop this out. Okay, so our goal here is we're eventually going to fold up the sides, which will be really fun. But since I put texture on this, I know that this is going to have to be flipped over, because since we're folding it up, if I did it this way, the texture would be on the inside. And especially if it's for plants, no one will ever see the sweet hearts or my nice lines. So rather I'm going to work on smoothing out all the edges gently with my finger. And then I'm going to turn this over and do the same thing to the edges here. Now, when we are folding these edges up, we need to bevel the corners so we don't end up with a lot of thickness. This is really good if you have an X-Acto knife or something sharp. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold my knife at a 45-degree angle, and these are where we're cutting, these little inserts right here. I'm gonna hold this at a 45-degree angle and I'm gonna cut. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, hold it at a 45-degree angle, and then I'm gonna cut. So ideally, when these fold up, they're gonna make a corner rather than be extra clay. So I'm gonna do this to all 4 sides. They don't have to be perfect. That's the beauty, because we will be scoring these. So we'll be marking them up and slipping them and putting them together. So the good news is they don't have to be exact. They just have to be sort of. Okay, great. So now I'm going to score each corner. I have my little ceramic, my little scoring tool. I like to call it the rake. If you have a pin tool though, anything sharp that can make a bunch of marks, that's awesome. So I'm gonna score each bevel that I just created, my beautiful bevels. And then I don't like to use slip, rather I just use water. My water does have a little clay in it because I've been using it for a while, so that's totally fine. So I'm just gonna use my paintbrush and wet every scratch mark I made, and then I'm gonna scratch again. So essentially I'm making slip out of the clay that I'm using rather than adding more. Okay, great. So next comes the fun part. I'm going to start to gently coax the walls up and attach the corners. So here I'm going to coax this wall up and attach this corner, coax the wall up and attach the corner. And then with this, I'm just going to take my hand flat against the wall, and then I'm going to press down where the seam will be, where the corner and the interior will be, and straighten that out. And you may think, Kate, this looks really floppy. You'd be right, but it will be better. We're gonna work on it. So now I'm gonna coax this corner up, and we're gonna press these edges together. Coax this corner up, press these edges together, all the repetition. And then I'm gonna do the same thing where I'm holding the edge and I'm gonna press down on the corner. Now, if you have a rib, this would be a really good point to use it. So I'm gonna take my rib and just smooth out the sides. If you don't though, just continue to use your hands, press the edges, and then I'm gonna take my finger on the short corners and press those down as well. So my goal here is to make pretty proper corners. Now we're gonna do something I like to call the gentle plop. And we'll take this and gently plop, and gently plop, and gently plop. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna flatten out that bottom a little bit more. If you wanna go further with the gentle plop, you can take this on its side and gently do this side. So we're squaring it off, essentially. You can also turn this guy over and take your fingers like little pinchers and just gently pinch. I'm doing this very, very gently because I have my heart texture. So this is essentially the whole project. So I'm going to spend some time smoothing this out. And what's fun about the fold up projects is that the potential for different shapes is limitless. You can alter, you can do a lot of altering to the template and fold it around, do all sorts of things to end up with a super sweet form. Now, if I am making this into a planter, I'm going to take my X-Acto knife. It might be better to do this when the clay hardens just a little bit. You'll get cleaner holes, but I can just take this and twirl it around, and I can get these nice little holes for drainage. Because remember, my plant fanatic self is going to be using this as a little planter. Okay. Then I can take my finger and smooth these out. So once you guys have this portion, if you are making a planter, you might want to think about making a little dish to sit it on. And that's just as simple as perhaps taking this template, extending it so you can extend the middle of it and the width of it here, and make another little dish that maybe has shorter edges. So I would take this and I would trace it, and then take a ruler and just measure out another, I don't know, a quarter of an inch, half an inch, it depends on how much wiggle room you want. And then you can create an even bigger template and do the same project over with shorter walls. If you have any questions or concerns, you can email me, kate@mudflat.org. But I hope you enjoy this project and have fun with hand building at home. Be well, take care, bye.